Society. Okay, um, we have to acknowledge that the youth are now the agents of change. We have to sit back. Our generation, we have to go into mentoring and coaching role. We have to be the sponsors. We have to be the supporters of the young people, because they are the ones who are growing up in this new world, right? And you can see now in this, especially now with the COVID-19, especially now with our pandemic, the context that we have, we can see with this major disruption, we're having to adapt. And the changes are happening so fast that most of us are still just remaining anxious about the possible threat, yes, of COVID-19, but also the reality that things will never really be the same. That we're really moving into that world of technology that we keep on speaking about. And I was thinking today that if there's something that stands out for me is the fact that technology is going to rule, right? So our kids need access to the digital platforms. They need digital access. They need to know how to operate these platforms. They need to know how technology works because they have to develop new things for us that will help us to cope with our new world out there. So it's very exciting times. And today is perfect in terms of, just redirecting our attention to the fact that the youth are the ones who are going to help us create the kind of world, the kind of society, the kind of community that we want for our children. Now, yes, I'm going to also just tell you that currently I'm running a a new, Chris, if you can just pull up the next scene for me. I'm currently running a fundraiser. If you don't want to see your name reflected, then you can just put anonymous, but your name appears there. Everybody can see it, not only the fundraising champion like me, for example. If you go into the page, you can see exactly who donated what, and people can send messages, and all those messages will go to the organization. So that's what I like about Back a Buddy. And like I said, I think it's an ideal platform. It's a crowdfunding platform. So I think perhaps schools can sort of, test it to see if it can work for you, because there are many people out there who'd like to donate their 10 rands, their 20 rands, their 100 rands, their 200 rands, whatever they can afford. And it's an easy way to raise money. There's a lot of work involved, because obviously you must keep on, just making sure that people see the fundraising campaign, and that you put something in it. So I'm hoping to run a challenge as well to help raise the money. So I'm thinking of different things, perhaps reading, like having a loud reading story marathon, whatever we call it, and then people can donate. Or I'm also thinking along the lines of running a online conference, like a mini conference via Zoom or Google Meet, and then people can participate and then donate the money to the campaign. So I'm going to put it out on the page, and then you can see. Okay, so that's all my promotion in terms of youth and in terms of Hannah's place of safety. So now the fun part, people, and the exciting part. I have two young teachers, like I said, and we're going to pull them on right now because they are our special guests.
Good. Thank you, South Sharon.
Good evening, Sharon. Good evening, Sharon. Good evening, listeners.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm Rafika Benjamin. I come from Heathfield High School. Am I allowed to say that?
I am Cruz October, and I'm school Heathfield High. So waving the flag high this evening. Woohoo.
Okay. Um, can you guys hear me now? just let me know because people are saying there's still no sound. Antoinette, thanks for coming in. Is the sound there now? Can somebody just give us a heads up if the sound is there now? Okay. Youth Day, no sound. The older generation must shut up. That's me. It's quiet. Right. Okay, just let us know if there is sound. Cruz and Rafika, can you guys hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
100%.
Okay. Okay, the sound on now. Right. Cruz and Rafika, can you guys hear me?
Yes, I can
Okay,
still
cool.
hear you.
Yeah. Sorry, guys, for that. And I'm sure there's a terrible echo in the background now. But I greeted everybody. I was telling you about
100%.
Hannah's Place of Safety. And then, of course, I said we have these two amazing guests, Cruz October and Rafika Benjamin from Heathfield High. They're young teachers, and we want to hear about their experiences. And we want to hear what they believe the future holds for us in education. And of course, I was going to get the principal on Wesley Newman, but unfortunately, he was engaged. But I'm sure he is going to support his two young teachers in the background. Okay, so I'm going to ask them a few questions, and then if you want to ask them any questions as well, or you want to make comments, then of course you can drop it in the box, and then we'll put the questions to them. So, who's going first? Is it Rafika?
Yes.
Ravika, you first. Okay, Ravika, can you, and the question is to both of you, Ravika and Cruz, can you guys tell me just a bit about yourself and then tell us, where did you study to become a teacher? What made you choose this profession? And of course, a little bit just about who you are. Okay, and I think Ravika, you're going to take the question first.
Yes, I'll go first then.
Okay.
So, first of all, I studied at CPUT. Was Rafika Benjamin, everyone? Sorry. Let's just start from the beginning. Rafika Benjamin, I studied at CPUT.
Okay.
I'm pretty new to the profession. This is only my second year in teaching.
Lovely.
So, my first school that I am teaching at, Heathfield High School. So, and I was lucky enough to start with a very big cohort of young teachers. So there was a lot of support in that way. But also from the older staff, of course, a lot of support at Heathfield High School. My passion for teaching, let's say, it's more passion for children than it is for teaching itself. I've always wanted to work with children, and teaching just seems like the thing that I don't know, got me there the soonest. So yeah.
I like that. I'd like to know who the older teachers are, Rob, because if I had to teach in your school, I suppose I would fall into the old category.
Not old as in age, old as in experience,
Yes,
Experience.
I got you. Thanks for that. Cruz, just give us a bit of your background and your teaching experience thus far.
All right. My name is Cruz October, and I've been teaching for about 5 full years now. 5 years. So I'm still a novice in this profession. I studied at University of the Western Cape, so UWC. You know what that WC used to stand for in your era, Sharon. But I
You
studied
guys.
a bachelor in education, and obviously the passion and the need or the calling, as they call it, for teaching comes from a long lineage and history of teachers in my family. My mother is a teacher, actually just retired now recently, a couple of months ago, just before the mayhem kicked in. She had news that obviously that she's going to retire. So as you can see, that the lineage of teaching and this pattern that has been passed down has been going down from generation to generation. So my love and my passion for teaching comes from within my family. And then obviously to echo with what Rafika said and mentioned was that it's just the passion for working with the youth and just having that passion for nurturing the future, whatever they may want to become. To help plant the seed in their future development is why I do what I do. So I love my passion, and yeah, that's what I do.
Wow, wow. Guys, then we got the right people at Heathfield High School, and we have the right people in the teaching profession. Thanks so much for choosing to be a teacher for the reasons that you gave. Your reasons are faultless, really speaking to the fact that you want to make a difference. And you found that the site of struggle is really a school. That's amazing. Thanks for that. Okay, and then
Yeah.
if you must prescribe, I know Rafika, you gave us some ideas. You know, it's your first year, but if you must describe your experience now, at your teaching experience, prior to the lockdown and COVID-19 context that we have now, what would you say? You know, about your experiences in the classroom, your relationships with teachers, the fact that you're teaching across generations, all these policies and systems that we have in education. Just generally, what is your teaching experience? I don't know who's going to take the question
So
first. Are you still going to be? Is it still?
I will allow Cruz to go first.
All right,
There we
You
go.
Tina.
can go
Yes,
first on this one.
we like that.
Okay,
Thanks, Robita.
so just to touch on the experience of teaching
Mm, mm,
before lockdown and before COVID-19, I'd say that dealing with the youngsters today that have a limitless, basis of opportunity, to get them to find the desire and the drive in the world to become something in this world with endless opportunities is difficult as a teacher today, because there's so much opportunity, but unfortunately the disparity hasn't changed, be it post 80s, be it where we are now, as they call them, the millennials. Working with the youngsters is both rewarding and challenging.
mm,
Rewarding in a sense that it's always nice to get that phone call from an ex-learner who matriculated and say, "Hi, sir. I'm at Witswatersrand. I'm studying
mm,
medicine, etc." So those are, tip of the iceberg moments as a teacher. In terms of working with generational differentiation when it comes to staff, extremely difficult. Coming from different eras, we don't have the experience that they have, but we keep ourselves meek and mild, and have that opening ear to learn in this profession.
mm,
But we try to bring something different. We try to bring technology in, but then again, you also realize that certain schools don't have that opportunity because of all schools not being on the same level.
mm,
So, in terms of teaching, in a nutshell, just before lockdown, it's been difficult, but post lockdown, it's even more challenging. But you know, as a teacher, our forte is to take what you have and to make the most of it, so that
mm,
the kids can reap the benefits of it.
mm. Wow. Thanks, Cruz. I will pick up on some of the points. Guys, we have, for those of you who joined us now that we have sound. Remember, we were soundless. We were like Charlie Chaplin not too long ago. So if you missed out, we've got Rafika Benjamin and Cruz October from Heathfield High School. They are young teachers and they're part of our meet and greet series. And so they're just going to chat with us and tell us about the experiences and perhaps give us a few words of wisdom. And then, of course, I explained I was going to get the principal on as well. The principal is a young principal and very experienced in, just in life. And unfortunately, he couldn't join us tonight. So we are just talking and going to have a nice time with our two young people here from Israel. Okay? So Cruz just explained to us how he's teaching now. And I'm going to ask him a few more questions, but we're hoping more questions come through the chat as well. So Rafika, your experience as a novice teacher, like walking in January 2020.
Actually, I started last year. This is my second year, so I did have some teaching before lockdown started,
Okay.
thankfully. Um, so teaching, like Kuru said, it is a bit not a bit, they say it is challenging in these times because you deal with children from very different backgrounds. We come from a mixed, our community, our school community is a very mixed community. So culturally and there's a lot of differences there. So it does make it a bit, not difficult, but it does make it challenging in the way that you deal with everyone. Also, what I find that working with people of an older generation makes it a bit easier because when it comes experience wise, there's always somebody you can lean on that can help you in that sense. So I really appreciate that, working with people that are more experienced. Like I said, I started with a cohort of young teachers, so there was a lot of how can I say, there was a lot of sharing amongst us because we came from different universities and we were all first years in our teaching. So we were able to lean on each other because sometimes when you start alone, it feels like you were in this boat alone, but then there was many others with me. So I appreciated that when I started. But I think now with the lockdown, one thing that is very clear is that you can see that coming from different types of schools, you can see the disparities where one school is perhaps more fortunate than other schools. And especially at the school that we're at, a lot of people don't have the electronic or online resources or the ability to access those sort of things. So it makes it very challenging, makes it very difficult, I want to say, especially for those kids. To continue learning in this time.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. I like the fact that you guys underscore that, that the experienced teachers and I don't think this is the right term, but the less experienced teachers, that we can work together as a team and then draw from each other's strengths. Like I said, you guys come in with certain skill sets that we perhaps don't have, but then we have skill sets that you can benefit from. So there's that kind of
Yeah.
synergy, that kind of, dependence, interdependence on each other. And I'm getting that message very strongly. Tell me, the kids, how are they? How do the children respond to you? Because you're young, you look like them, you listen probably to the same music, you dress like them. How do they respond to you in terms of relating to you, accepting your authority as a teacher, and in terms of discipline? Just speak about that. Who's first?
Do I need to go first on this one? I think okay, I will go first on this one. So last year when I started, I think there was quite the issue with discipline. I think it comes from also a bit from being a female teacher. It's a bit more difficult, I find, to get that almost I don't want to say just that to have that authority in the class. The children try you. You need to be strong. The children try you. They push the boundaries. But I mean, I think I got it down. I'm not sure. If Cruz can hear me shouting from where he's upstairs.
Again.
Cruz says again. Yeah. Thanks. And you, Cruz, how do they accept you? You look like one of those DJs, man.
Is it? Okay,
Yeah.
that's good. Yes, we are directing a party at school to some extent, but in an
Okay.
educational platform and setting. But I started in 2015, and yeah, I would say it is very difficult to lay down the law, as to say, because you don't have that elderly look about you. You come in, you dripping swag, as they say. Sir, you're dripping swag. I like your shoes. So to take them off the aesthetics, and to actually let them actually go into the reason why you're standing in front of them and actually get them to listen to you and your message and your learning outcome that you want to have at the end of that lesson. Takes a few months, even a few years. I don't think you niche it completely because every group of kids is different and every class is different. But it had its challenges in the beginning. But and you get your love letters as well from the girls, and you get those inappropriate things as well. But I think the way you handle every situation at school, it's as if you are, they are looking at you with a microscope,
Mm,
and the way you react to every situation, it either makes them respect you more,
mm,
or they will lose respect for you because they will
mm,
see you in a different light. So they know that, oh, Mr. October, he's cool or he's nice, but
mm,
don't mess with him.
mm,
Don't do this or don't do that. So I think it's a learning curve for us as new teachers as we come into the profession, but only also for the learners as they get to know us as new teachers and realize that we have boundaries, but we're professionals. All right,
mm,
we studied to get where we are. So hoping that we are more relatable than anything else, because
mm.
you would like to be relatable for as long as possible so that we can continue to share this message of hope and inspiration. And I was just speaking to the matrix
Mm,
last week about this month and what this month means to them, and the history of this month. And yeah, it's just really it's a learning curve, and
mm.
I must say every year in teaching thus far has been a growth opportunity for me.
Wow.
So it's not something you can really be expert in.
Mm.
It's about learning and growing.
Yes, I would agree with that. I'm just trying to see if we're seeing any comments or questions here from the guys. So, Ravika, I was laughing because you sound like me when I was a young teacher. Like, shouting at the top of my voice, trying to get them to listen. But I was very fortunate, which will be frowned upon now. We still had the cane at the time. So before I could really just work through my own insecurities as a teacher, my own growing up as a teacher, you depend a lot on the externals, like shouting when you lose the plot or whatever. So I can identify with what you're saying, and I like that, Cruz, that you say, yeah, they're more interested in your clothes and your appearance, and you could easily, if you're not focused, you could be sidetracked by that. But it's just that kids, young people just like to do that. I mean, I remember they used to watch my nails and comment on my nail polish, and I'm worried about the work that I was teaching. But they're
Mm,
worried about whether your hair is right and whether, they can see all those signs. But it's also nice, it's their way of relating to us. But like you guys both, I think I got the message there. We must never overstep that. We must have that relational bond with them. Like we must make them realize that there is a teacher-student relationship, right? The one is in a mentor coach role, and the other one in a learning and maybe also mentoring coaching at a lesser level. But we are the authorities in the class in terms of helping to shape the learning in the class. So I like that message that I'm getting from you guys. Let's just see, I see quite a few people join. Keith Nickert says, I'm late, blame Netflix. Yes, I see Netflix is stopping school currently now, Mr. Nickert. But thanks for coming. Theola's here. Theola's also apologizing. Yes, Theola, you and Keith are rebels. Then Rosalind is here. Hi, Rosalind. Thanks for that lovely story that you shared with us from Sweet Valley. It was fantastically made. The teachers were just absolutely brilliant the way they acted out the crayons. Liked it a lot. And then, of course, Nicole has a lovely comment here. But before we read that, Donovan. Hi, Donovan, all the way from Gauteng. I need to get you on one of these days. Donovan says learners will always push boundaries. It's all about being consistent. And I think you guys agree with that, ne? Cruz and Rafika?
100%.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's all
Definitely.
about um, being consistent, because when we're not consistent, that is when they see through our, the fact that we're not prepared, the fact that we don't stick to our values and all that, and they start making judgment calls on us, and then we have problems in the class. So, yes, thanks for that, Donovan. And then Nicole says, it is so inspirational listening to you guys. I hope I can still be referred to as being young. That's Nicole. Nicole is the HOD, the department head at Constantia Primary. Yes, Nicole, you're still young. You fall into that category. And then she says, but with that said, every day is definitely a learning opportunity and an opportunity for growth. Love that comment, yes. I also like the fact that Cruz and Rafika underscored the fact that they're still on a learning curve and that, that they have that learning spirit. Thanks, guys. It's difficult sometimes for us in what we regard as an expert role. As teachers, we always think that we know everything. So it's encouraging to know that you have got that learning spirit, and learning spirit talks to your humility soul. The fact that you recognize that you don't know everything. Okay? So we see big stars in the sky for you. And then, of course, we have Ross. Hi, Ross. Thanks for joining us. Ross Dalman says, Mr. October has been the best teacher I've ever had. Always inspiring us to work hard and dream big. Cruz, there's a lovely comment for you
Thanks,
from
Ross. Thank you,
Ross.
boy.
What grade is Ross?
Ross will be matric now, but he
Oh,
was my
wow.
Yeah.
when I started teaching. He was in my grade 8, grade 9 class. So yeah,
Oh,
big ups,
lovely.
future cricketer Proteas.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Ross, go on. Show us on the cricket field what you can do there. And then of course Alamir says, love seeing you cruise again, class of 2009.
Alamis.
Rafika Cruz, the whole nation is coming. Come say hi to Cruz. Is there no other comment that we see there? Okay, right. Guys, then thanks for that. We're sort of watching the comments, and unfortunately, I don't think you can see it on that side, eh? Cruz and Rafika, you can't see the comments on the screen.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, so just let me
No.
know if you
No.
can hear me clearly. Um,
Yeah.
Tell me about teaching now with your masks on. Because the other day when I
Eh,
was at your school cruise, I didn't recognize you tonight. Rafika, I didn't recognize you tonight because we all had masks on. And tell us, how's the teaching going in the class now with your mask on? How are the children responding in the class? How are you finding the teaching in the class? Just generally, what is the situation like in the class now?
so I think it's me going first.
Oh, so it's like alternating, yeah. I like that.
Yes. There's synergy. There's synergy in the staff
Synergy,
room here.
synergy is the word.
Yeah.
Um, the new normal.
The new normal. There we go. Smart attempts, eh?
The new normal has been something to adapt to.
Okay.
Um, even this interview now, speaking freely and openly, it's like the best ever I can articulate myself eloquently. But the mask is definitely something I'm struggling with personally, and my colleagues feel the same. It's all about projection in a classroom. It's all
Mm,
about being as loud and clear as possible.
mm,
I just want to latch on to what Rafika said earlier about we have a vast there's a the cultural differentiation at the school is huge. We have kids from DRC, Sierra Leone, all over Africa. So already there's a language barrier to a certain extent. They've been in South Africa for a couple of years, so yes, they've picked up on the vernacular, but they need to sometimes they tell you, sir, I need to see your lips. I need to be
mm,
able to lip read what you're trying to say. So with that being taken out of the equation now, obviously it's a little bit difficult for kids to understand you. So the mask has been a huge issue for me. I'm bringing two a day so that I can alternate because, like my fiance tells me, sometimes I don't say it, I spray it, because my mask ends up getting wet. Then I need to change my mask because, you're speaking all the time as an educator. So on the
mm,
mask, definitely a huge for me, it's a gray area in terms of teaching. It's I
mm,
find it extremely difficult. But for the learners, day one, Monday, 8th of June,
mm,
we kind of got to suss them out and see where they're at in terms of their psyche, and we were taking their temperatures, and you get to look in their eyes and
mm,
just get to see deep gazing. Are you
mm,
okay? Are you alright? I'll
mm.
speak to you later. Temperature is 36. You may enter. But
Uh,
just just to see where they were at.
Mm,
Psychologically, at first, they were very nervous,
mm,
also because of how we reopened schools, the uncertainty in opening schools. Um, should learners go back, etc. So when I first stepped into the class day one in this new normal, I immediately picked up that kids weren't ready to receive information
mm,
immediately. All right, played a little icebreaker game with them, etc., just to get them used to being back and
mm,
then seeing everyone and then seeing us with mask and then seeing, their teacher in front with a mask. So the new normal was different. It was difficult. It was challenging. But we're trying to do the best we can given the time constraint that the metrics have, especially.
mm,
And just to allow this, and I told them, I left them this quote, if they are tuned in. I said, please don't let this condition be your conclusion.
mm,
Um, the condition you're currently in, many have been here before. To touch on to the 80s, the boycott eras,
mm,
where learners weren't going to school, schools were on
mm,
lockdown. You know,
mm,
so don't feel alone. Don't feel like you are the only person going through this piece of history. Yes,
mm,
it is a piece of history that you are part of. But I said we're going to change the part of history and turn it
mm.
into making history.
Yeah.
So I left them with that and started teaching in this new normal. And thus far, it's been good. It's been eye opening just to see that kids are, I have an answer, sir. Getting back into that engaging style that we
Mm,
had
mm.
before this new normal.
Okay, lovely. I like that. Rafika?
Unfortunately, I don't teach matrics, so I haven't actually had the classroom experience with engaging with the learners.
Mm,
I think my experience with engaging with the learners is as far as screening them in the morning, and then during break time, we asking them, or you just like they need to, we were overseeing them and being socially distant. But
mm,
I'm going to agree with Cruz where he says speaking with a mask on is not great. I think uh, for me personally, breathing my own air in constantly every day, I think it's giving me a headache. I'm not sure.
okay.
Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, I don't find it comfortable at all in that environment, speaking with a mask on. Also, like Cruz says, I think we have to bring 2 masks a day at least because when you're speaking, I think the precipitation of your breath just wets the mask. So there's that. But like you were saying, I think we have, this is a, for teachers especially, we have to adjust.
Mm,
We just have to adjust to whatever is thrown out there.
mm,
So what we're trying to adjust, and we're hoping that the learners are also able to adjust to this new normal. It will take time, and like they said, like Cruz was saying, the way schools opened, it wasn't the greatest because the children weren't, I don't think they were mentally ready for that. It was just kind of thrown out there. I don't know if they ready at this point in time. Personally, I think maybe there's still a lot of anxiety that's there, especially being in matric. Matric is a difficult year as is,
mm.
and for them to now have this whole lockdown in the middle and know that they have to write that same paper at the end of the year, it's quite jolting to their mental state. But we're trying our best to get them to do the best at the end of the year. So
Mm.
I hope they can work with us at this point in time. Just do their best.
Yeah, yeah. I like that you guys are very positive, and that is important. So despite the difficulty of the context, you're not selling negativity, you're not selling pessimism. You're being realistic about the context, but you're not saying it's hopeless. you know, that you're still telling the children you are in the making, like you said, Cruz, we're making history. We're not just experiencing history. That's such a profound transformational kind of thinking. Even us, and now people talk about my generation, because I think I do with that page with pride. We're not graduates. But it's good to know that young people are talking about making history, that life goes on all the time, and you make the adjustments and so forth. So I get that message that you guys are strong activists in that regard. You are teaching activists, you are social activists, and that's the kind of young people we need in the school. I'm thoroughly excited about having you here and listening to this positive message here, So now, given the fact, and I know both of you mentioned about the difficulties children have because if they're not at school and they're at home, they don't have access to digital technologies, they don't have access to the digital platforms. It's very expensive, data is very expensive. But if you look at and this is the question, if you look at the way forward, we saw now during COVID-19 that we are going to have a blend of classroom teaching, teaching remotely, teaching online. That is just a reality. I think you guys would agree with me. We can't have a situation
Yeah.
that we're only going to have, the children are only going to be taught once in the class. I think the one of the upsides of COVID-19 is that it showed us possibility of accessing, of teaching differently using other technologies as well. So going forward, how do you guys see the future of teaching? What do you think? What should we bring into our schools, especially in our disadvantaged environment? How can we as teachers, um, try to level the fields for the kids at least that which is within our power to make a difference? I know it's a big question, and something that I think all of us should grapple with. At those of us in education, whether we office based or whether we're in the classroom, we're going to have to start interrogating, the kind of leadership practice and teaching practices we have in our school. So I'm putting you on the spot here. I want to know, what do you see as the future for teaching? And how should teachers be equipped, especially those who are still at university? What do you think? How should they be prepared for the new kind of classroom setting that we have now?
Mm.
That's a very big question, I know. But just your initial thoughts.
It's, if I can go first on this one, Cruz.
By all means.
Okay.
Bruce is being very sweet.
So basically, I'm coming from university now. We
Mm,
are taught very many different technologies. So the Zooms and the class Google Classrooms, those things, they do introduce those things to us at university to make us familiar with those things when we have to adapt or when we have to use those things in the classroom.
mm,
But like you say, it is quite a big question. If the school doesn't have the resources, it's very difficult to implement those things at school.
mm,
So that skill that we do pick up at university, we don't necessarily always use depending on the school that we go to. A lot of my friends that do teach at more privileged schools
mm,
use these things on a daily basis. So the children that they interact with are familiar with these things, which makes it easier, which I'm sure made it easier for them now to go to transition during the lockdown phase.
mm,
Whereas our kids, we try to do the WhatsApp, sending them the online links, but many of them don't have access to those things. So we also did the booklets before they ended school to give them something to do at home. Um, of course, we didn't plan for lockdown to be quite this long. So we also, yeah, we tried many things,
mm,
but like you said, it is a big thing. It's going to be a big thing for many years to come. Both from the teacher side and from government, there needs to be a big step up because the ones that's suffering now, honestly, in my opinion, the ones that's suffering are the underprivileged. They
mm.
had no schooling whatsoever for the last few months, whereas those obviously that go to the more prominent or privileged schools, they continued on as per normal, but
Mm.
the rest were left behind.
Yeah, I like that we're going to pick up on that. Bruce? You'll
The
continue.
future of teaching. And obviously, with that answer, I have to include myself in it because I'm still young. so, so the future of teaching is online, definitely. It is going to be shaped around a more technologically based and a technologically inclined learning. Also, because that's what the future holds. That's where the business is going. So we need to keep on par with business. We need to prepare our learners for what's left outside of school, or what the future holds, and that is technology.
Mm,
Like it or not, unfortunately, as our Minister of Education or stated, no learner should be left behind, and that in
mm,
lies the adversity, and therein lies the seriousness of the argument or of your question that you're posing, Sharon. So many learners are left behind. That is the reality of
mm,
just this first, foot in this cold water regarding this COVID-19 experience has been an eye opener for what teaching is going to be.
mm,
It's forced many schools, be it affluent schools, be it underprivileged schools, into a box that is either very manageable for some or completely unmanageable for others. If I'm to speak for a school where myself and Rafika find ourselves, we did a survey of our matriculants last week, and we found that 46% of our kids have cell phones. 38% have laptops. 28% has Wi-Fi at home.
Mm.
So just to look at those stats of one particular school, it's scary
mm,
because the question of leaving no learner behind becomes impossible. How do you how do you not leave learners behind when the disparity is an economic one, not an educational one?
mm,
And therein lies this ellipsis to this answer, that unless we have stakeholders, and this is obviously my employer and many others, corporate bodies, financial institutions, if we can have a buy-in, if we can have this prosperity of forward thinking, not for us, not for individualism, but for the future of our youth.
mm,
We speak about these things, but and we say profound words in media, but we don't really get our stakeholders together and look at the best possible way in which our future will have longevity, and how we can grow this economy, and how we can grow schooling. Because for me personally, I feel that everything starts in school. I feel that everything starts as a youth from school, and your development, whether it's brain development, it is stimulated via school. So
mm,
the future of tomorrow is in our classrooms.
mm,
So with that being said, unless we can somehow find this cure, not only for COVID-19, but also for the disparity of life and the
mm,
disparity of where we find our people and our children, um, there will be kids left behind. And that is the sad thing about teaching in this new norm and teaching in this new reality, is that it is not based on who will progress and who won't. It's not based on who will be successful or who won't. It's based on, is all learners receiving the adequate and hopefully the same level of resources, the same level of education, and just being given that same spring for
mm.
their future as what
Yeah.
other schools or more affluent schools are receiving. So until we can solve that crux or that dilemma right there, Shannon, we can look at an online based teaching platform. We can look at schools going into an online direction. But needless to say, that is going to be a long road from now,
Mm.
because just this introduction to how we
Yeah.
started teaching now in this new norm has been a shock for many.
Yeah. Sure. Guys, it's deep. Thanks a lot, Fika and Cruz. That's deep stuff. The fact that this is and that you're willing to participate in this kind of robust discussion about the fact that we have to be realistic and realize that there are disparities and the inequalities, and we can see that now, especially now during the COVID context, we can see clearly, even if you wanted to turn a blind eye to it, there are the haves and the have-nots. And like you said, schools, how do we close that gap? And I like the point that you raised about the fact now's the time for collaboration. Now's the time for those public-private partnerships between government sectors and private sectors, right? Now's the time, if we're serious about our youth, then we must look at how do we ensure that those learners are not left behind. um, deep, deep issues that we have to grapple with, whether we like it or not. But the beauty is that, Rafika, you and Cruz are right there, and you're not blinded to those things. You're working in a kind of fractured environment, but you're making the best. And I salute you guys for that. I really do. It takes a
Yes.
lot,
Mm.
to work, you have so many disadvantages. I know now I sound like I'm preaching, man. So I think that's important. I like the fact that you said no learners must be left behind. And that, I think, is what drives a lot of teachers. The fact that we always back, but there's the reality. There are no resources. There you have up, that stat of 28% of your learners having access to the internet is um, it's particularly it's troubling, because it means, one, we know, given the status, the economic status, their poverty, we know that they can't afford it. But we also know that they get a double whammy now. The fact that they don't have money to get the data, so which means they don't have access to it. And that concerns us as teachers. Ne? Okay. Anything
Yeah.
else you wanted to say? I just want to pick up while you're thinking of something to add. You're having such deep conversations. I think Cruz and Rafika. I think I need to have you guys in the room. We must have this big debate with other teachers in the space, and let us start sharing these
Mm.
kinds of ideas, where people can discuss this the way you guys are willing to discuss it here on School Corridor. Let me just see, Rodney Kibera. Thanks, Rodney, for coming online. Rodney is the principal of Heathfield High School. Nice to see you cycling, sir. And it was very nice to see you guys protesting your arts a la fin. I'm speaking out of connection, but it was very encouraging to see how they are calling for the rights of kids, and the dignity of our children. So really smart work that you're doing there. Call Davis. Thank you, Call, for coming. Call says, love what you're saying, Mr. October. I don't know if you know Call Cruz, and the
Carl David
Rainbow,
in Kimberley.
Kimberly. Is he
Shout
from
out to
Kimberly?
Kimberley.
Oh, wow. Thanks, Call, for joining us all the way from Kimberly. That's a far cry, but that just shows the kind of respect you have for your teacher. Yeah. Branmore, he's the principal of Heathfield Primary School in Branmore. Says he's excited about the future of education. If this, listen to this, Cruz and Rafika, Branmore Swartz, the principal of Heathfield Primary School, says excited about the future of education. If this is the caliber of young educators out there, woo-hoo!
Thank you
Did
very
you
much,
know that?
Mr. Schwartz.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, and
Thank
then I
you.
just want to see Donovan. Hi, Donovan. I did greet you earlier. Um, Donovan says, good listening to Cruz. Took me back to my first years as a young teacher in '89, and being thrown in the deep end was standard 10. So that's the old grade 12. Thanks, Donovan. And I'm just scrolling back in to see if I'm not missing out on anybody. Yeah. Yeah, I think our sound is playing up with us, but I'm sure people can hear us. Right. I think I've covered everybody here. Renata came on as well. Renata says, well done, Cruz. Loved watching. Very interesting. That's from Renata. Cruz must be somebody that knows you. And then,
Yes, it's my
yeah,
mother,
okay.
my soon-to-be mother-in-law.
Your future mother-in-law. Okay. So she's listening to you now.
Yes,
Let
she is.
let me hear
Hi, guys.
what this guy is thinking. Yeah. Cruz and Rafika, we could probably go on all night, but if
Mm.
you have any closing comments that you'd like to make, um, any messages of, anything that you want to say, just as a closing statement.
Let's go.
Okay. Rafika, did you
Ladies.
give Cruz a chance or you go first? Who's on?
Okay, wait, I'm gonna go first. I'm gonna go first. Cruz has more fans than me, I see.
Good one. Good one.
So, just to all the matriculants out there, I think at this point in time, I think we need to just stay strong together. Use all the resources you have at hand. To the teachers out there, thank you. I think we should. If all the teachers out there need a big thank you. At this point in time, they need that encouragement because it's a different time for all of us. Even though we you know we might be at different generational times in teaching. It's a different time or challenging time for all of us. And then just thank you, Sharon, for allowing us this platform to speak about these issues that really are at the heart of the matter of education at this point in time. I do feel that at this point in time, the matriculants of this year have a very difficult, I want to say a very difficult year ahead of them. But they will get through if they try. It's all up to them at the end of the day. It really is all up to them. No one makes it or breaks it for you but you. So give it to all, and at least at the end of the day, you can say you gave it your best.
Yeah. And having people like you supporting them, Rafika. That's awesome. Thanks. I hope the Matrix, if you're watching, if you're not watching, it's fine. You can watch the replay. That still stays on School Corridor forever. So you can watch it again. Cruz, any closing comments?
Well, first, I'd like to acknowledge all the frontline workers, all the essential service workers, your supermarkets, your petrol attendants, basically everyone who has risked their lives to keep this economy going. And teachers have fell into that essential service bracket now from the 8th of June, even others prior. So, firstly, I just want to acknowledge them and say thank you for everything you've been doing. You made us a little bit less anxious about going in and going back to school. And you made us feel that there's a just cause to why we're doing what we're doing, because we have the youth watching, and them looking up to you as essential services and people in the healthcare professions gives us this glimmer of hope that there is individuals, there's human beings that are willing to put themselves out there for the greater tomorrow and for the greater of society. For all the teachers, always remember why we came into this profession. Always remember that as we continue to journey in this profession, we came into this profession because it was a calling, and more so even than now, it is still a calling. It's a calling to be back. It's a calling to urge our matriculants and everybody who finds themselves in an academic sphere and having to go back this year. May we continue to put our best foot forward in terms of getting ourselves over that line. And for everybody who tuned in, thank you so much for your comments and support. I feel the brunt of what society has given us. And, it's been very difficult being back. But I know and I feel that our matriculants of 2020, our class of 2020, will forever be grateful for our teachers who have supported them in this time. They needed custodians, they needed teachers to take that lead, and just to show them that this is why we have this calling of a profession called education and being an educator and being a teacher. It's about leading it by example and trying to inspire those so that they can continue to inspire others. Sharon, from my side, thank you so much for the opportunity for Rafika and I. And to my colleagues and everybody listening, proudly Heathfield High.
Yeah, super. Before I close, thank you guys. Look, I'm so impressed with your owl. I'm not just trying to think of myself as a young teacher. I was such a rebel at times too. That one day I could speak so well and so eloquently and say, I think I was fighting my rights all the time. But thanks, Rafika and Cruz, those, you speak like people who have been in the profession for years. But what I like is your mindset, your thinking. Your thinking is so servant centered, so servant leadership focused. It's all about what you can offer others, or what you can offer your learners, and how you can help your community. I like that message of hope. But balanced with that is that you are not under any illusion about the struggles going forward. And that's powerful stuff. Okay. I just want to read this last comment that I see here. Um, Renata, I think I read those. Yes, I think that's mother-in-law, future, capital letters. And then Craig Noel says, well done, Mr. October and Miss Benjamin. Proudly Heathfield High. Oh, that must be one of your colleagues, right? Yeah, and then
Yes, it is.
Nicole,
Yes.
yeah, Nicole is giving you a round of applause. Nicole Amber Fulton is giving you a round of applause. One, two, three, four, five, six, six. I'll do it for you, Nicole, because I can see you. Yeah, guys,
Thanks, Nicole.
thanks so much for your input. And I was so proud that you agreed to come onto this platform because you are in the public eye. People hear what you say. You're giving a testimony on behalf of the teachers. You're showing what the possibilities are. You're being raw about what the challenges are. You can see we're living in a society that is unequal, but you can also see your power, the role is helping to shape, and you're making that big call out that everybody must come alongside to help our youth. I'm like super super impressed with you. I think I'm gonna ask Mr. Benjamin, Mr. Newman, Wesley Newman to hire me just to experience the young people at the school. Yeah. So guys, thanks very much. And then you can stick around and really greet the audience quickly. And then guys, thanks so much for tuning in. I'm very glad that you were able to hear Cruz and Rafika just sharing their experience as young teachers. They are the ones that must pick up the baton and run. They are going to be our future school heads. They're going to be our future district leaders. They're going to be the directors in future. They are the ones who must take this country forward in terms of education. And so, like somebody mentioned there, I'm also very excited that this is the caliber of young teacher we have in the school, and that given the right platform that they can, that they can grow, and that we will play that supportive role, and that we will play that role as a mentor and a coach. We will play that role as a sponsor to help them grow bigger and better and learn and take what we've experienced as teachers who've been there forever. But it's the cruises and the rocketers that are going to help us cope even better with our teaching and learning. So thanks for being with us. And then if you missed us, I just want to just tell you that at the beginning you may have missed us. I'm going to pull this screen up quickly. I mentioned right at the beginning that I am running a fundraiser. It's called Hannah's Winter Amazing Grace Race. It's a fundraising campaign for the Hannah Place of Safety. It's an organization in Mitchell's Plain. They look after children from birth to about 3 months, I think. They deal with a very fragile, with a very vulnerable, the ones whose parents cannot take care of it. Those children have to be given love. They have to be taught how to love. They have to experience human touch. They have to experience human love, which is a tough task because these children come into the world and they already built up a lot of resistance, just trying to deal with the kinds of experiences they have. So, in a nutshell, that is sort of the kind of organization that I'm fundraising for. And I'm appealing to the community to assist us, right? We're trying to raise 20,000. Those funds will be spent on about 20 and minimum 10 babies. So it's about 2,000 per baby in terms of giving them food and buying some winter clothes. And then as I mentioned right at the beginning, what I like about BackaBuddy, it's a crowdfunding platform. It's South African based. They make it quite transparent. So if you go into that link, you'll be able to see exactly who it is, who's donated, how much people have donated. And so there's nothing suspicious about it. Okay. So the idea is that you give whatever you can to help us raise the 20,000 so that we can hand it over to the Hannah's Place of Safety. Then, just in terms of credibility, still in terms of the crowdfunding platform, BackaBuddy, I chose, first of all, it's South African, and secondly, I know that the Retreat Community Health Center, their hospital, had two successful fundraisers via BackaBuddy. So at least I have that, experience as a contributor there, and also to see that they physically got the money, they physically bought whatever they wanted to buy. In their case, they wanted to buy, I think, a booth, a screening booth. So, yes, so my experience with Backup Buddy has been very positive thus far, and I think it's a kind of platform that schools can possibly explore as well in terms of fundraising. Okay, so yes, that's a bit of promo. So yes, again, I want to just say thank you to my guests. I dropped him off the screen. I wonder if I can just pull him up again. Yes, I think. Oh, I lost. Rafika, there she is. Again, guys, I just did a promotion around Hannah's Place of Safety. Thanks again for coming on. So we're just gonna greet the guys. Quickly, remember the school corridor, we want to grow, we want to inspire, and we want to empower all of us. So tonight we have one of those amazing sessions again. So enjoy the rest of the Youth Day evening. And from me, it's good night. Cheerio. I don't know, Cruz and Rafika, you want to do something fun?
Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye,
Cheers.
everyone. Thanks
Bye
for
bye.
tuning in.
Okay, almost. I think it's